Still to come on Cam and Company. I'm going to talk with Congressman Trey Gowdy from the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee about the latest in Operation Fast and Furious. But right now, very pleased to have with us in studio tonight from townhall.com, Katie Pavlich is with us, fresh from an appearance on the Sean Hannity Show.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us this evening.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
You bet. I don't even know where to get started here. Let's talk a little bit about the White House response today to the revelations that Attorney General Eric Holder was getting briefed on Fast and Furious in July of last year, and yet told Congress, I just learned about this a few weeks ago, maybe February or March of this year. Jay Carney says repeatedly that the testimony Eric Holder gave before Congress was, quote, consistent and truthful. Now, it may have been consistent in that he constantly said the same thing, but it appears that it was not truthful in that he was getting briefed on Fast and Furious in July of last year.
Right, and let's remember that these memos did not just mention Eric Holder. They were addressed directly to Eric Holder. It's not like his name was mentioned in passing within these memos that maybe someone told him something. They were addressed directly to the Attorney General. And the White House press corps was saying, you know, Jay Carney was trying to spin it as a DOJ has tried to spin it as he was referring to the tactics when Eric Holder learned about the shady tactics of the program. That's what he was referring to, and the press corps said, you know, he never mentioned tactics. What he said in his testimony was, the question was, when did you learn about Operation Fast and Furious? And Holder responded and said, I learned about Operation Fast and Furious maybe a few weeks ago. So unless, you know, almost a year later counts as a few weeks, Eric Holder's testimony was not factual and it wasn't honest.
Well, yeah. I mean, look,
it's simple. I mean, we're back to the definition of what is. I mean, that's where we are. And
you saw or you heard one of the White House reporters press Carney on this, saying, look, what you said he said isn't what he said. And Carney's response is, consistent and truthful, consistent and truthful. Because Jay Carney knows that they're not going to spend an entire press briefing asking about Fast and Furious. And as a matter of fact, at some point, reporters have to back off and ask about something else, or else, you know, you all of a sudden, next time you need an unnamed source within the White House, you may find that you can't get one because they didn't like the questions that you were asking. So it's a real double-edged sword that on the one hand, I'm glad that the White House press corps is asking about this. On the other hand, I'm not sure that that's the journalistic body that's actually going to get anywhere.
No, I don't think that they will. Especially, this is what the White House is going to do. They're very good at repeating lies that they want people to think that are factual. So they'll repeat something over and over again until it becomes true, so to speak. So they're going to repeat over and over again what Obama knew, whether it was true or not. And they're going to repeat over and over again what they want people to think Eric Holder said. They're going to say, no, he was talking about the tactics of the program, when really the quote coming from Eric Holder had nothing to do with the tactics. And that's what the White House is going to do. They're going to repeat over and over again what they think people should know, what they want people to believe that Eric Holder said, rather than what he really said. Why it's important to keep embedding that clip. All the journalists online, journalists everywhere need to keep replaying that clip of Eric Holder, because there's nothing that takes someone down better than their own words.
Absolutely. All right. Now, one of the other things that the administration is doing, and we saw this yesterday with the Associated Press writing a story about, oh, here it is, the federal government under the Bush administration ran an operation that allowed hundreds of guns to be transferred to suspected arms traffickers, the same tactic that congressional Republicans have criticized President Barack Obama's administration for using, two federal law enforcement officials said Tuesday. So, shockingly, members of the Obama administration, speaking anonymously, tip off the AP that, hey, there was this other thing called Operation Wide Receiver. Right. And that happened under the Bush administration. So you can't blame us. Our hands are clean. Right. We were just doing stuff that the Bush administration was doing.
Right. And, I'm not going to, give the Bush administration a complete pass on this, but none of the evidence backs up the claim that the exact same tactics were used. You look at the testimony from multiple ATF agents, multiple whistleblowers within the agency, and this started under the Obama administration. And what the AP did not point out is, yes, there was something called Project Gunrunner under President Bush, where straw purchasers were allowed to come through, they were allowed to purchase guns under surveillance, and they were arrested and prosecuted, which is key here, prosecuted before going back into Mexico with these guns, right? Once Obama took over, these guns were then allowed to go back into Mexico, and straw purchaser prosecutions have been way down under Obama, almost to the point where they have no interest in prosecuting these people. So there is no evidence to back up the claim that the Bush administration was, in fact, trafficking guns. And there was a CBS News report that came out today there's a what they called a gun enthusiast who was working at, his name is Mike Detty, I believe is how you say his name.
Yeah.
Working at a gun shop. And throughout the report, it makes it seem like, once again, the Bush administration was using the same tactics to allow guns to go to Mexico, but they didn't ever say specifically that the guns were going and being tracked back into Mexico. And I'm going to bring up his quote. He said, "My first day as an informant, if they had said, here's our plan, Mike, we're going to let as many guns go across the border as they can haul, and we're just going to look and see where they end up, I would say, no way, that's not a plan, that's idiocy." He did not say it was happening. He didn't say they were going into Mexico. He said, if they would have told me they're going into Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no evidence to prove that the guns were going into Mexico under the Bush administration. Now, like I said, this needs to be looked into a little more. I'm not giving the Bush administration a pass, but it is quite ironic that the same day that Barack Obama's Attorney General Eric Holder is facing possibly perjury charges for lying about this operation, all of a sudden it's like, oh, the Bush administration, no one's come forward before in the past 3 years. You don't think that someone would have come forward before, and maybe we'll see more. Maybe I'll be proved wrong.
Yeah.
However, it's just the timing is very ironic here to me.
Well, it is, and I think clearly this is the administration trying again, and they're almost throwing everything but the kitchen sink out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because once again, we heard yesterday the Justice Department say, well, Representative Issa knew about Fast and Furious. He was briefed about Fast and Furious. Now, that was something that was fed to the Washington Post a couple of months ago, and Sari Horowitz was the only reporter, as far as I know, in the country that actually bit on that story.
Right. Surprise, surprise. The Washington Post is willing to carry the water for the Obama administration. This is the same newspaper who was smearing gun shops who were working for ATF, accusing them of trafficking guns on purpose to Mexico when, Carter's Country Gun Stores, we talk about this all the time. They were working for ATF, and the Washington Post was smearing them every day on the front page, saying they were responsible for deaths in Mexico, murders in Mexico, trafficking arms to Mexico, when really it was the U.S. government. So it is, I would be very skeptical to this point until we get a little more information, documentation. All of the reports I've seen about Project Gunrunner, all the testimony I've heard, and it's been a lot, and all the people I've talked to, this started under Obama. The trafficking into Mexico started under Obama. The tactics that were the same were allowing straw purchasers to come into gun shops under surveillance, purchase guns, and then they would track them. Now, the difference is, under Bush, they were arrested and they were prosecuted. Under Obama, up to this point, the evidence shows they were allowed to go back into Mexico and they were lost. And the bottom line is, whether it was Bush or Obama, there are thousands of people dead in Mexico. There's 2 Americans who have been killed here. This is wrong. It's wrong on either front. And for them to kind of turn around and say, well, Bush did it too, doesn't make it right.
Oh, no, absolutely not. In fact, if that was the intent yesterday, to try to, have a bunch of people squirm, I think they failed. Pretty much universally, the response was, all right, well, if we need to look into this too, then we'll look into this too. But this doesn't change a damn thing about Fast and Furious.
Right. And it doesn't change the fact that Eric Holder on May 3rd of 2011 said he had found out about Operation Fast and Furious for a couple weeks prior to his testimony.
Right.
And then nearly a year before, in July 2010, he had been getting memos about the program addressed directly to him. And you read these memos and they say, well, they're not detailed. Actually, they are, pretty detailed. They go into the idea of, guns being trafficked into Mexico, and they're not so non-detailed, I guess you'd say, that he wouldn't understand what was going on.
Well, no, and again, if you're seeing this phrase pop up week after week after week, because it wasn't just in one briefing. It was in a number of briefings. And then in October, your deputy attorney general, your number 2 guy, Lanny Brewer, gives you a memo that talks about Fast and Furious. And again, none of that rings a bell.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't compute, given everything that we know about what this administration was saying about trafficking on the border, new enforcement efforts. Eric Holder's getting briefings within months of this operation getting underway, and in the thick of this operation, he's getting word about possible indictments being handed down in October. There was discussion about, should we bring Lanny Brewer out here for the press conference to talk about these indictments. Now, you're telling me that the number 2 guy at Justice didn't talk to his boss and say, hey, I'll be out of the office next Wednesday. I'm going to go down to Phoenix for this Fast and Furious stuff.
Well, whenever I call the Department of Justice, they claim that everyone's away from their desk and that everyone is out of their office, right? But, you go back to these tapes that we saw a couple weeks ago from the Lone Wolf Trading Company in Glendale, and they mentioned Eric Holder in those tapes. He said, when is Eric Holder going to address this? That's what he said in the tape. So this is nothing new. A lot of people I've talked to have said, I knew he was lying. As soon as he said that on May 3rd, I knew he was lying. And I think he's not the only one we're going to see who's going to be brought before Congress and having to explain their testimony. I think Janet Napolitano is next on the list. She's claimed the same thing as Holder. The consistency, as Jay Carney said, she's said that she was, only briefed on it after she found out that Brian Terry had been killed. That's when she knew about it. So I think once we get a little more information, if the documents aren't destroyed, I think the White House and DOJ and all the agencies that haven't been under so much scrutiny are probably rounding up the wagons to make sure a lot of that information doesn't get out to the press.
Well, and you say if the documents don't get destroyed. The last time we had you in studio, we were talking about that white paper that's been circulating around Justice saying, well, maybe we should just scrap ATF altogether and just fire everybody and transfer responsibilities to other existing federal agencies. So, again, by the way, those of you out there, those would be fantastic. We get rid of a government agency. No, you're going to see the expansion of other government agencies to absorb the responsibilities of the ATF. This makes sense, especially now if you're feeding stories about, this was done under the Bush administration or, this may just be corrupt. I mean, this may be the administration trying to throw an entire government agency under the bus. Right,
and we need to remember that the ATF field agents who they're talking about firing here were the ones who were uncomfortable carrying out the operation in the first place. So they're ones saying, I'm not really comfortable doing this. And they were told by the higher-ups, by William Newell in the Phoenix field office and the people above him, if you're not comfortable doing what we're telling you to do, then you can find a new job elsewhere. At one point, they told him to go work for Sheriff Joe Arpaio in his jail system in Maricopa County. So, this is their way of saying we're taking this really seriously. We're getting rid of ATF, possibly. It's a possibility. Whether they're going to actually do it or not, I'm not sure. But we're going to get rid of ATF, taking it really seriously, and that way it takes the pressure off of the higher-ups who are really responsible for this, who are still claiming they know nothing. Eric Holder, Janet Napolitano, a lot of the people still in DOJ, the White House, National Security Advisor at the White House, Barack Obama. So it seems really great to get rid of ATF, yes, but let's look at the reasons why. It's to take the pressure off of the higher-ups who have been, trying to stay squeaky clean on this and blame the lower-level ATF agents in the field, since they've been doing since the beginning, in order to take pressure off themselves and avoid responsibility.
Absolutely. Well, Katie, again, appreciate you coming in studio tonight. This story is not over by a long shot. Every day it just seems like it just gets bigger and bigger. But I know we'll be talking again very soon. And again, thanks for your reporting on this.
No problem. We'll keep it up.
All right. Katie Pavlich at townhall.com joining us in studio.